Bing. Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Friday night. Can only mean one thing. Mike in Ohio and friends are here to do the Quagmire. Hope everybody had a cool week. So tonight, of course, we have Ohio Wolverine, which would be the beautiful fire picture that you guys are viewing right now. We have TR Prepper. We have Digging Freedom.
Hello.
I do have more invites out. As a matter of fact, Johnny Master at Arms, if you are still in the chat, look under your bell, brother, because that's where I sent it. Who else was out there that I sent it to? Stump, and he already replied back to me, and Frank's in here. All right. So, you can't read the thing, right?
I can't read it tonight. Sorry.
You're on your phone. That's right. I forgot. No big deal. Let me see if I can go back to the beginning. I know the first two people that were in here because they were fighting over. No, they weren't fighting. I'm only kidding. We were discussing it. Well, I guess I can't go all the way to the top, but I know that the Jerry Pruitt was here. Girls Like Guns too. Jen, thanks for coming. I'm a Redneck Cockerham. Fuzz Fork 8. Johnny Master at Arms. Swansea Searcher. Stump Greenwood. King Coin. Gimp Geek. Beachy Prepper. Car Carrier. Who am I missing? Day Token, how are you? Thanks for coming. Did I miss anybody? I think that's everybody. I think it is. I think that's it. So if I missed anybody, I apologize. Yell at me and say, Mike, you missed me. Okay. All right. And that's weird because I usually don't do that. Knuckle Mac, how are you, brother? Ohio usually does that for me, but Ohio's basking in the on the outside, enjoying a campfire tonight. But so John, what's going on? Anything good? Nothing good.
No, I hadn't heard anything good.
Yeah, neither have I. Especially, like I said off air, I just watched it on, well, it was on the internet, but I saw it on the thing. And they were wondering if martial law was going to be eminent in Baltimore.
I read the story. I don't know if it's. I'm sure there's other stories about it. From what I read, I don't know if you consider that martial law or not. If it's just a police curfew, they keep enforcing. Now, if it goes beyond that, maybe you could get into picking some, splitting hairs or whatever. I mean, I usually think of martial law as military.
And that's how I look at it too.
I agree.
That's odd. We don't have a, what do you call it tonight? Like a blank screen on the outside. I don't have a problem with a curfew in a case like that. I really don't. Unfortunately, you got to be, with all that, with everything that happened down there, and it keeps happening, I guess, right? And it's, it gets back into the silliness of, stealing and robbing and setting up fire to the merchants that you buy stuff from the day before.
I had to say that in that situation when there's riots going on and things like that, lawlessness going on, I have to admit, I would probably be okay with a curfew. You know, if the people aren't policing themselves and the police can't handle them,
Right.
yeah, for the greater good of everybody. I mean, that's one of those instances. But it's the local police force, so I don't really consider it quite as bad as like saying, well, it's my rights. You're messing with my Bill of Rights. In that case, it's not the federal government doing it; it's the local government doing it. So there again, you're splitting hairs and stuff. But I have to say I could bend a little bit as long as it wasn't permanent.
Right. I agree with you. I think that it's not like Boston was a couple of years ago. So
I think, Mike, I think if they try to impose a martial law and they really are not equipped to do it, or if they don't have military, if they just have police there, they're going to walk into a walking nightmare because those people are already upset about whatever they're upset about. And now you're telling them they can't go outside. They're already dealing with a curfew, but if you go martial law on them, it's lighting a fuse to a powder keg. I really don't think they're going to do that. They can't be that stupid. Maybe they are, but maybe they are to test the waters. I don't know, but if it was me in charge, that would be the last thing I'd want to impose.
Absolutely. I'm surprised they're getting away with the curfew.
I thought the curfew was just for like
that area,
kids, and yeah, just that area.
Right, and I do believe, I could be wrong, TR, and I don't know if I don't know if you and I read that same thing or not. I want to say that I read where it was for 17 and under.
That's what I had read.
Now I could be wrong.
When they curfew, when the mayor and the governor or whatever instituted that curfew back when they were having problems after the first decision or whatever, after they started protesting down there after Freddie May or whatever his name was, or was it May or Freddie Mac or something? I don't know what his name was killed. They actually it was for all individuals, there was no age. It was all individuals, like 11 p.m. off the street, because that's when they started arresting people, because they were announcing you are in violation of, said curfew that's been in effect for state of,
right,
Maryland or whatever, and that's when they started, handcuffing people and taking them off the streets.
And now, Ohio, do you think that are you cool with that?
Am I curfew? No. I'm not cool with riots. I mean, right. There's no reason to protest at 11 o'clock at night. To be honest with you, who's going to see it? The reason to protest is you should be protesting on City Hall. You should be protesting in front of the police station. You should be protesting in front of the prosecutor's office. You should be protesting in front of the mayor's office. In front of the governor's mansion. Shit like that. You don't need to be protesting in your own neighborhood, and then turn it into a riot. Protests are protests. Have a peaceful protest. To be honest with you, man, Martin Luther King Jr. would be rolling over in his grave right now if he knew how these things were being.
Yep.
Yeah, honestly, I think they learned a lot from Ferguson, and really, this was just a war game to those people. The people higher up that are calling the shots, this is a war game. They're doing their little psyop. They're seeing, how they can make people think a certain way or do certain things, just because of what they've learned from Ferguson. Yeah. So hey, there's still got protesters up here in Cleveland. We had that police officer that found not guilty of shooting somebody 137 times. You know, it's
right.
like
Yeah.
you know,
You guys are going to be getting something too pretty soon.
no, I mean they've already went to court. The judge found him not guilty, and you know that's it. It's over.
I'm sorry, Ohio. Say that one more time. I apologize. I had noticed that. Can you? They did what?
They found a police officer. The police officer that jumped up on what happened is two unarmed people were killed. They were shot 137 times, and they were unarmed. They pinned it on one officer at one time because he's the one that jumped up on the hood of the car and shot through the windshield.
Oh, okay.
And then during the trial, basically they could not determine whether or not it was his bullets that killed them or not because they were shot 137 times. He shot 30 sometimes or 40 sometimes on his own. So he had to reload twice to shoot through the windshield. But he was found not guilty. Amazingly enough, it's crazy. But you know, I was expecting it, man. I was like, I told my wife, I'm like, don't go into Cleveland, you know, because we're north of Akron, so we're you know we're kind of in Cleveland from here, and you know, there's things that you do in Cleveland. You know, if you go to a ball game or if you go to a concert or something like that, you know, that's where most everything is. That's our big city around here. So I was like, don't go in because shit's about to hit the fan, and it didn't, and it surprised me. There were a couple arrests. You know, some people got out of hand looking for an excuse, but other than that, they show up and do their riot, and not riot, but they do their protests, and that's, you know, and they go home at night. But they're there every day protesting. They're hitting the streets, and they're letting it be known, you know, peacefully that they don't agree with the system. But we're about to have another situation up here because we have the 12-year-old Tamar Wright that was killed, and they're about to release the report on it. So we'll find out.
So
that guy's going to get fried. They have to. I mean, you know, come on.
So saying
no, don't get off. That officer will get off.
So keeping to what you were saying about. Not thinking that people should protest at 11 o'clock at night. To get back to my original question, so they're protesting 11 o'clock at night, which is basically they're rioting. So let's just call it, because there are such things as peaceful protests. We've seen them all. So they're out there rioting. They're out there robbing, stealing, pillaging, doing whatever, burning shit, whatever they're doing, and we all know it's wrong. We all know it's, you know. You still not agree with the curfew?
No, I'll never agree to a curfew or martial law, man.
Okay, no, I'm not asking about martial law. Just about
curfew. Yeah, no, I don't agree with it. I'm a grown ass man. If I want to walk down the street at 11 o'clock at night, I should.
No, I hear you.
I shouldn't be punished at night.
And
my own safety against who? The police.
And I think that I should have. I don't know if you heard me when I was talking with TR. I did say that I believe TR and I both are on the assumption that we both read the same article, that it's for teens under the age of 17, under the age of 18. So it's not like you and your wife couldn't go take a walk down a city street if you wanted to. If your boys were 15 and 16, they couldn't, but you and your wife could. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if my boys 15 and 16, they wouldn't be out unless they had a good reason to be out, like if they had a job or something.
Exactly, because you're a parent just like me that cares. So, before I go any further, I'd like to welcome Matt from Resist Attorney here. Matt, good to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Mike. It's good to be here.
Thanks for stopping by. And I'm gonna go out to the chat room real quick before I get to my next subject. Before I ask Matt on that. Mutt NC came in. Dave Outdoors Adventures, thank you. Todd Mitch, Gear Riding 19. Swansea Searcher. And I think that's on Trunkback Jim.
Hey, Mike, Danny, Mr. Cravenet's in the audience, and he might be one if you can send him a link. He can give you some perspectives that I've talked to him about, how things are in his country, in the Netherlands, and you would be amazed at how many restrictions that man has to live under.
Right.
You'd be amazed at the tyranny over there.
Oh, heck yeah! It's amazing. It really is. When he tells you things, you're. We were talking like early this morning, and he was like, "Yeah, I bought some spare ribs. One rib for him cost him $6. One rib."
Yeah, I'd move.
And I said,
good.
Just saying, he might give you a different perspective. That's all.
So Matt, I don't know. I know you were out in the channel. I wasn't sure how long you were out there. I wasn't sure if you knew what we were talking about. Like the curfew that Cleveland has, and if, because again, TR and I read an article where they want to know if quote unquote martial law was imminent, and we had spoke on how we didn't think that martial law was martial law unless the military was involved. So that was the road we were going down.
Well, martial law isn't martial law unless the military is involved. You have things that would appear to be martial law if the police are involved, but the true definition of martial law is the military. But as far as like police curfews, these curfews that these cities end up going under because they want to quell protesters, and I do distinguish the difference between protesters and rioters. But because they want to quell protesters, get them home and stuff like that. I don't like the curfews. I do agree, and I heard somebody say it like kind of when I first popped in that there's really not a point to protesting at 11 o'clock at night. I agree with that statement. However, it's not up to the government to say when you can and cannot protest. Now, whether I think there's a point to protesting at 11 o'clock at night, businesses are closed, most people are in bed, politicians are in bed, they're not going to hear you. That's why I said to doing it. But it's not up to the police or government to say when you do and don't have your First Amendment right to peacefully assemble. And so when it comes to that, hell no. I hate that. Now we can distinguish the difference between those kind of curfews, those police curfews when it comes to protesters, and then your average curfews like when I was younger. If you were under the age of, if it was 16 or 18, you weren't allowed to be out past midnight.
Yeah.
And the most they did was take you home.
Right. You
didn't get arrested.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had.
And that was any day of the week. Well, that was throughout the weekday.
We had.
But city implemented. The city implemented ones or police implemented curfews when it comes to protesters. No, it's in my opinion completely unconstitutional. People's First Amendment right to peacefully assemble.
That it is.
But Matt, no, I was representing for you, man.
He was. He was about to say, "Now, Mike, that comes under security, Don't give it up for security."
You suck up.
That's
what was
awesome.
that, Ohio?
I just happened to grab a Resisted Tyranny shirt and threw it on before I jumped on the chat.
I called TR the suck up. It's not like he bought pizza for him or something.
I saw the I don't know if Matt saw the video that TR did for something else. Oh, he did the update on his thing for his giveaway, and right, TR. And then you did the silent shout out with the Resist Attorney T-shirt on.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, I've not seen that. I gotta check it out.
Yeah, go check
Yeah,
it
it's
out.
when I met me and Is Your Six
Oh, that's
covered
what it was. That's
met
what it
up
was.
here in North Carolina, and I had a Resisted Tyranny shirt on while we did our little spiel together.
Yep. Yeah, so that was
That's
cool.
awesome. This past 2 weeks have been full of people from YouTube meeting each other. I got together with Ohio Wolverine and Misfit down in Columbus, Ohio, last weekend, and TR met up with Is Your Six covered, and then the week prior I met up with Andrea and I met up with Jen from Girls Like Guns too. It's been, and then David Robertson from American Warning, 420 Homestead, myself and Andrea and Shammer, we all got together yesterday.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I saw the pictures of you, David, and 420, and Andrea, and then I even told I told Ohio off air, but I'll tell you on air. I saw the pictures you guys eating lunch the other day. The pizzas you and you Ohio and who was Misfit. He said was his back was towards the picture. So I says to Ohio, I says, Jesus, all I see is two pizzas on the table and you and Matt sitting there, one for you, one for him. So when Andrea posted the pic, I said, hey, nice pics, you know, and is one of those for Matt and one of those for the other one for Ohio.
You know, to be honest
Right.
with you, I think Andrea ate the most pizzas that day.
It might have.
We were too busy talking about guns and stuff to eat. It was just there for conversation piece.
Right. That's cool though, meeting up with YouTubers. I think that's great. And by the pictures, it looks like you guys had a good time.
Yeah, I thought he'd be taller.
Yeah, I haven't got that picture made yet, but Andrea did post a video of you and I, Ohio.
I haven't seen it yet. They just told me that it just went up a little bit ago.
Oh, I like the other picture of you guys pretending that you. Well, I hope you were pretending that you were peeing on the bushes.
Oh, you'll never know.
That will be a well-kept secret and guarded till our graves.
You know, the funniest part about that whole thing is I'm from that city. Matt grew up 2 hours from that city. We went to that park and that garden because Andrea had heard so much about it, and neither one of us even knew it existed. And we were from Ohio.
That's funny.
And to go along with that, there was a couple as we were leaving. There was a couple that was getting ready to go in. The guy was from Columbus, and the girl was from California, and he knew nothing about it, but that's where she wanted to go because she had heard about it. So it was like, if you live in Ohio, you've never heard of this place. If you live anywhere else, it's apparently a large tourist attraction.
That's cool.
That's probably true for a lot of landmarks and stuff around people's cities because you grow up around, a place, a city, and you don't really explore it that much. But, the tourists and stuff, I know like downtown Greenville, they redone it, made it really nice, and there's this kind of famous suspension bridge, this arc, and the poles are only on one side. It's really pretty cool engineering feat. But most people around here ain't never went downtown Greenville and walked on it, But it's crowded from people from out of town and stuff.
Yeah, that's like being up here in Boston. They have the Freedom Trail, and the Paul Revere thing and the whole nine. And unless you've done it with your kids or you went on a field trip or whatever, they don't even know it's there. Same thing with Plymouth Rock and Plymouth Plantation. They don't know it's there. The rock now is only about the size of your laptop now anyway, so. But I did want to ask another question. And I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't done a lot of research on it, so A, I apologize, and B, you guys will be helping me out with it. The Freedom Act of 2015 that'll probably take in effect. How bad is that going to be?
From what I understand, and I don't know all that, I've kind of tried to read some of it and try to understand what it is, but I know from what Shammer he told us on the chat that it actually made the intrusion worse because it like took the voice conversations, turned it into a text, and then they could file it under a different type. I don't know. I really don't know that much about it, but uh, from whatever and from what, some other articles I've read, they talk didn't like it. It's like it sounds like they're going to quit the surveillance, but they're not. They're probably going to do it even more, or at least the same. But it's the Freedom Act, so everything's cool now.
Yeah, and I guess they're gonna revise some of the, or bring back into some of the Patriot Act, and I just don't see how it's gonna work. As you know, I mean, the Patriot Act was horrible, so I don't see how this is gonna be a helpful thing.
I'm going to read you something from Justin Amash. If you guys don't know who Justin Amash is, he's a libertarian from Michigan. Good guy to follow. He's about as close to, say, Ron Paul as we have today. That's currently active in the government. It says, talking about H.R. 3361, the USA Freedom Act, this morning's bill maintains and codifies a large-scale unconstitutional domestic spying program. It claims to end, quote, bulk collection of Americans' data only in a very technical sense. The bill does prohibit the government from, for example, ordering a telephone company to turn over all its call records every day, but the bill was so weakened in behind-the-scenes negotiations over last week that the government can still order, without probable cause, a telephone company to turn over all records for an area code or phone calls made east of the Mississippi, just large-scale areas. The bill greenlights the government's massive data collection activities that sweep up Americans' records in violation of the Fourth Amendment. So basically, it really does very little. There's a lot more. This is like 10 paragraphs long. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically what Justin Amash is saying, and it goes along with things that I've read about it as well, is it really does almost nothing to curb the spying. It's another bill like the Patriot Act. It's another thing like Department of Homeland Security, USA Freedom Act. It's something that has a really cool name that makes people think it's great, but it's the very opposite.
Affordable Health Care Act. There's another one. Okay, we all can't be muted at the same time.
I'm sorry, I was trying to scroll.
We don't have to get into the healthcare thing, but speaking of that, the reason it's on my mind is since the insurance companies are changing their policies and stuff, I normally I don't have a copay. I get like $700 a year that like the company I work for puts in a little account, and I don't have to pay anything until I use that $700 up. And I never use it. I don't go to the doctor that much, but I usually go once a year. Just a little checkup, check my heartbeat, blah, 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 blah. And I went a few months ago, and this healthcare plan did the same thing I've always had. It just changed this year, where I normally didn't pay a dime to go see the doctor. Now it costs me $90 with insurance just for a simple doctor's visit. It wasn't even a full physical or anything. You just check my pulse, my heartbeat. Hey, how you doing? Feeling okay? Da, da, da. And that's it. Because insurance is like, oh no, we're only going to cover $60 or something now.
You mean you had to pay $90 and you didn't even get a reach around?
No,
Right.
you didn't even do a reach round.
No glove, no KY in the glove, no nothing.
Now, the company that I was working for that I just left, a friend of mine that worked there, called me the other night, about 2 nights ago, and said, "Dude, you jumped ship in perfect timing because they were right in the middle of open enrollment when I left." So, he said that the family insurance plan went from like $260 a month to what everyone was paying for a family, like a family of four.
Mm-hmm.
Went from $260 a month to $540 something. I mean, that's
Yeah.
That's like 100% increase.
Yeah. I insurance. I changed. I went. I stopped it from mine, and now my one of my wife's plan, because her plan's a lot better. But it was killing me. I was like 117 a week, and that's just my part of it. My boss got to be paying, $400 more a month than that, easy, but I can't get over $90 to go to the doctor. That's just damn.
Well, the only people that still support Obamacare are the people that are getting something out of it. They're getting their quasi-free health care. These are the people that are probably collecting welfare of some sort as well. I'm not saying all of them, but many of them. The only people that still support it are the gimmies, are the people that didn't have something and now at least has something. Everybody else, it has literally screwed.
It's even for the people on like Medicare and Medicaid that now those older generation people have to have a subsidized additional insurance company to cover stuff.
What that and all these increases, there's 2015 and 2016 increases, is because nobody's signing up for it. Most of the numbers that the Obama administration puts out for the people that have gotten on Obamacare are all fake. The true number of people who signed up specifically for Obamacare are so low, it's incredible. The rest of the numbers they come up with are people who just renewed insurance under Obamacare, and they counted that as a win, and things of that nature. It really is insane that it's actually still a law.
It's scary, and it's like the thing is, what insurance do they have? You know what I mean? But it's getting to a point where they're outbidding each other so high that it's never ever going to be the same again. It's never going to be. I mean, I get lucky. I think it's $30, or something like that for my copay. Physicals are fun. Physicals I don't get charged for. But
I'll tell you, like him or hate him or however you feel about the guy, but I watched Rick Perry do his announcement that he was running for president in his speech the other day. It was like on every news channel that was, in the afternoon, breaking news or whatever, and they had a speech going on, and he was up there with Marcus Luttrell and Chris Kyle's wife and some other Medal of Honor winner, and I mean, he was just, giving Obama hell and ramping up the crowd and really going for it, and like I said, like him or hate him, I got to give him credit. He's going to make the he just made the GOP race for the Republican nomination a little bit more interesting, I think.
Like 15 people running for president wasn't enough. We needed another one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's kind of one of those. There's like what 10 now that they are confirmed, but he was always in the running, just really never announced it yet.
Right.
Like
right.
Jeb, we all know Jeb Bush is running, but he hasn't officially announced.
But to Matt's point, it's like, well, if I may, if I could be all wrong about that, but to Matt's point, it's like, you get 20 people running for president, when out of that 20, maybe four have a legit candidate, if you might call it that. Am I right on that, Matt? Was that what you were gonna?
Well, no, it was this like tidal wave of Republican candidates, and every one of them, and if you listen close enough, every one of them says the exact same thing. And the vast majority of what they're going to talk about, and mark my words, is going to be how bad Obama was or is, and how much money they can spend without saying how much money they can spend.
Yep. Yeah, I mean it's what they do.
Well, here's another point. Many of them running on the Republican side for the Republican ticket. Nobody's talking about the Democratic ticket, and the only thing they do talk about is how Hillary keeps dropping in the polls. So
she's not going to make it.
I could care less what happens to the Democratic side. I really don't care what happens on the Republican side, but I don't know. I'll go ahead and brand myself. I am not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. Right. But I've never voted for a Democrat, no matter what.
I voted for Obama twice. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Matt. I know you're going to say something.
You said that. Now I just completely lost my train of thought.
You went mind blank, right?
I had something really good I was going to say, and then you said you voted for Obama twice, and I just kind of shut down for a second. I lost it all. Wow, I don't know if I'll recover from that one.
Well, then you should have been here a couple weeks back when I said leave my girl Hillary alone. She's pretty. She's my girl.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. There is one guy. What is he? He was somebody from Baltimore. I don't know if it was a representative or a congressman or something, but basically he's in Maryland, and we're out of Maryland, and he is running against Hillary.
Really?
And him yet, but he. From what I've heard from him, the few times I've heard him speak, videos of him, he's not attacking the Republicans. He's attacking Hillary.
And he's a
Democrat. Yeah.
Well, just like Hillary attacked Obama in 2008.
Yeah. I mean, real quick, I looked up on politics and election portal. Let me see here. They usually have. Okay, so the Democratic Party that have been declared says Morrison Bonpasse, Andy Caffrey. Stop me when you heard somebody's name before. Willie Carter. He's a retired USA Air Force member, father of yada yada yada. Of course,
I'm not voting for anybody with the last name Carter. I don't care who it is.
Right? Maybe he's probably Jimmy's. No, he can't be Jimmy's. A relative to Jimmy. Martin O'Malley, Bernie Sanders. He used to be the. I want to say a senator out of Vermont. I could be wrong, but I thought he was.
What can he be? Why can't he be a relative?
Because he can't. Doug Scheffler, Michael Steinberg, and Robbie Wells. Out of Maryland, Matt, would be that would be Martin O'Malley, former governor of
Yes.
Maryland.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay.
Yep.
I just couldn't remember what his attachment to Maryland was.
Yep.
If I can, real quick,
Go ahead.
King Coin says you can be a Democrat and attack a Democrat. What's so interesting about that? What's so interesting about that is the last at least 2 elections, we haven't seen a whole lot of same party people attacking each other. It's usually party divided. It's usually Democrats attacking Republicans, Republicans attacking Democrats, and vice versa. And that's what's so interesting about that, is that it's it came as a surprise to me, not because there's nothing to attack Hillary about. There's plenty of stuff to attack Hillary about, plenty. But just that a literal no-name person would come out and just start attacking somebody out of his own party seemed like a bad move to me, because Democrats aren't going to want to hear the bad things about what other Democrats have done. They're going to want to hear about bad things about Republicans, and that's why it's so interesting.
Yeah, and also, and, I mean, not 100%, don't get me wrong, but I think when they do attack each other, when they're trying to be the winner, it's not so much that they attack each other, like Republicans, Democrats do. They'll just beat their chest on how they are better at the other one because of this. Or, I have experience in this, or I was in the military and I could be, better than Perry or whoever. It wasn't so much really, if they did, I don't really remember it as far as attacking them real bad. It was more just claiming they were better qualified and had a better plan, not so much tearing another person down overall.
Right.
Real quick, I just want to say hello to Mr. Will Hornbuckle. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Thanks for the invite.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. I know you're out there listening to. What do you have? Do you have an opinion on anything we were just chatting about, or did you wanna?
Boy, I try not to get too political.
I know you don't, but I like when you do, because you do have good things to say. So that's why I figured I'd ask.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm gonna get my toes in the water first and see what you guys are all about here.
Okay.
Now, I can just tell you, I don't like the Conservative Party. And that's usually a lot of that is the gun people and stuff like that. That's what really kills me. Is no, maybe I'm wrong there. Correct me. Am I wrong? I mean, a lot of it just like the Tea Party people, right? It just seems like they're all conservatives.
Nah, when it comes to guns, both parties don't like guns anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not a Republican-Democratic thing anymore. Bill Clinton signed his assault weapons ban in what, 96?
94.
94. Bush did it. I mean, they're all Reagan with the Brady bill. So it's not a party.
Well, in general, Republicans usually are the pro-gun. They'll use that if nothing else to get voters. But unless something's changed, unless I missed something, from what I understand, Republicans here in the last few decades, anyway, let's just say since the '80s or whatever, have outlawed more guns than Democrats.
Really? I wouldn't have guessed that. Really, I wouldn't have.
They don't brag on it when they're running for office, but they did.
Yeah. So yeah,
and I mean on the federal level too. I'm talking like Reagan, Bush, senior, and I don't mean on a local or state level. That's I don't know the stats on that.
What wasn't NFA introduced under a Republican president?
I'm pretty sure it was.
So that pretty much takes care of that. That takes care of that. I mean, right there, pretty much it proves your point.
When was the NFA? When was that though?
I don't know. I
thought it was under Johnson for some reason. I may be wrong. Could be Nixon, but I thought it was Johnson.
It could have been. Real quick, I'm going to skip out to the chat room for a sec, if you guys don't mind. I'd like to say hello to Mr. Crabinet, sir. How are you? Buddy Light, Mackin Stood, thank you for coming. Basic American, thank you, sir. Todd Mitch, how are you? Partisan Gorilla, thank you for coming. Gimp Geek, I don't know if I got you before, but I just got you now. And Peachy Prepper, I think I missed you before, sweetheart, and I apologize, so hello. Okay, so that's done. Yeah, there you go, Tia. I think you're right. Yeah. I didn't know it was that old, to be honest with you.
It was Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt.
Yep. So forgive my ignorance on that.
Damn, we were way off, man.
Yeah, we're getting old. That must mean we're getting old.
You might have been thinking of the 1968 Gun Act.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, 68. And that would have been under Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the other...
The 34, I thought it was in the 20s, actually. I didn't realize it was 34. But that's when they outlawed or heavily restricted short barrel rifles and full automatic select fire weapons and stuff like that.
And amazingly enough, there were no school shootings before that.
Imagine that. You guys want to hear something? Speaking of guns, did I just lose you guys? Hello?
We're here.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, you know why? Because I thought I lost you guys. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I joined govtrack.us today. You can follow bills and, what have you, and your congressmen and your senators and all that happy bullshit. So guess what I happened to stumble across in the state of Massachusetts? Is a bill.
The letter R.
It's a bill. In the title of the bill, it's text of the Handgun Trigger Safety Act of 2015. Basically, they want a device. In a nutshell, they want a device on the gun so they know it's yours and da-da-da-da-da. So they want to go way technical on a handgun in Massachusetts. I was reading it earlier. LAPD cleared 2 officers in fatal shooting. That's too bad. I was reading it earlier and I was getting kind of confused on, you know how they write the bill. So it's all like, they talk out of both sides of their ass and it's not clear cut. And you know what I'm saying? But if you guys want a good joke, you can go and look it up. It's funny. What's her name? Warren was part of it, and Markey were the 2 people responsible for it, 2 Congress people responsible for it. But so it's getting even worse around here for me to do anything. So.
Hey, can I clarify something real quick?
Go right ahead.
I said I didn't mean gun-toting Republicans as in gun-toting's a bad thing. It's like a conflict of interest to me because I don't like the Conservative Party, but a lot of them I thought were into carrying guns. So it's not the gun carrying I got a problem with. It's other things in the Conservative Party. Okay, so that's it.
It's all good.
So what are you saying, Mike, about this bill that they're trying to pass a trigger safety law
Yeah.
um,
Let me
in Massachusetts that what in your own home you have to have it on and all that or what?
yeah, let me see if I can get it to you, Matt. And because you guys know I'm not all that computer savvy, so
If it's what I'm thinking of,
take.
I
Let me
think I thought it was California, and it might have been also where they was trying to go ahead and pass a law. Like I don't know if it's the same thing or not, Mike, but it was like they was trying to pass one somewhere. I think California, but I could be wrong. Like go ahead and pass the law now, and as soon as the one I'm thinking of, as soon as the technology hit that they could make a gun that would know it was you that held it, like it read your fingerprint or
That
whatever,
is exactly what I'm talking
then
about.
it would go into effect, and every
That was
handgun would have to have that installed.
that was New Jersey. It was a
Okay.
smart gun. That was New Jersey, and it failed. Because there was a big scare about that last year, or maybe it was early this year, but I think it was last year, because the smart guns came out, and everybody was like, "Oh, all guns are going to be banned," and yada yada yada. And it's just it just, if I remember correctly, that bill sunsetted. Like it's not able to be even. It would have to be revoted on, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that's New Jersey that you're talking about.
It just pisses you off so much that fucking people are so stupid that they don't even understand what "shall not be infringed" means. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry to interrupt, just real quick. It's the second link. The first link is just to the page that I joined. The second link is the name of the bill, the number, and all that. Sorry, guys. I'm trying, but go ahead, Ohio. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just ranting about the stupidity of some people. The thing was written pretty simple to understand it. If you ask me, shall not be infringed. It's the only one that ends with "shall not be infringed."
Can I, can
Why
I
why is it so difficult to fucking understand?
can I ask a question? Because I know TR doesn't like laws. Nobody does. Well, some people do, I guess. I shouldn't say nobody does. Some people like a lot of laws. But how do you feel about like a gun safety course for kids? Should that be required by law? I think so. I don't have a problem with that. A hunter safety course or something like that.
Well, you have to take on a safety course. So you can't get your hunter's license. So
Well, that's
Well, he,
a state thing, though, right?
Well, it depends on the state,
right.
probably.
I took
I
it.
don't. I think gun safety should be taught to children, whether
Okay.
their parents own a gun or not. So if
Absolutely.
they come across one, they'll know how this thing works and not looking down the barrel at it, And
What's this
and
button?
they used to teach that in school years ago, and they don't anymore. I agree with it. Yeah.
Remember that. I don't. We all hunted here, so we all went through. Well, at least all the males. We went through hunter safety course. Um, well, I wouldn't say all, but I would say most.
Right.
How about are you for a register?
No.
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 How about any type of background check at all? No.
No.
What if you're a felon? Doesn't matter.
No. You
You
can
break-
have one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And actually, I corrected myself. I hadn't done it publicly, but I was talking about that on one chat or something one night, and I actually went back and done some research on it, and they have changed a lot of that. There are some states after you can get your gun rights back even with a felony.
Oh, really?
In no, Matt and I have chatted before about some of the most disgusting laws in the state of Massachusetts pertaining to guns. And he's laughed really hard. However, in the
Mike.
state of go ahead, buddy.
What you sent me here is Senate Bill 1474. It's not just for the state of Massachusetts; it's for the entire It's the Senate of the United States says to provide for further development and use of technology for personalized handguns, to require that all handguns manufactured or sold in or imported into the United States incorporate such technology and for other purposes. It is basically, I mean, I could spend an hour reading this,
Right.
but it's for personalized handguns. It's very similar to what TR was talking about with smart guns. They either have a fingerprint reader in it, or the smart guns that they did introduce like a year ago had the wristwatch that had to be within a certain distance of the pistol in order for it to work with a radio signal. But that is what this is.
So
it has been.
I'm sorry.
It has been introduced into Congress on 3 days ago.
3 days ago, right?
It was introduced. Mr. Markey and Miss Warren introduced the following bill, which was read twice and referred to the Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. It's probably not going to go anywhere, more than likely. But
I hope not, because
I
thought it was.
I would say it don't even. I'd say it doesn't even make it to the Senate. I say it gets shut down in the House.
Well, I hope so. I mean, because I was reading it, and I said to myself when I was reading, I'm like, this is like that freaking, what do you call it? That was like what TR was talking about earlier. But when I read it earlier tonight, I'm like, why would they even? What would possess you to even think that that's the best thing to do? The best thing to do is have education on it. It's like who just said it a little while ago, but my mom sent me this thing on Facebook, and it's just like this little letter, "Dear Mr. President," or whatever the hell it said, and it says, I have a shotgun, and I left my shotgun on my porch, and he says this morning the paper boy came up on my porch and got the paper, and he didn't get shot, and went on and on and on and on and on. The neighbor came by, and yada 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 yada, and nobody got shot. And I don't get why people don't just get that it's education, and it's not technology. It's not we have to make sure who's got what and da 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 da. You know what I mean?
When we were all growing up, we survived rifles, we survived handguns and hunting and going out shooting with our parents and grandparents and friends. We survived lawn darts, we survived three-wheelers, skateboards, and a number of other things that we even survived drinking out of the garden hose. I mean, it's just ridiculous. All these regulations and laws, it's babysitting. It's the thought that you and I are not capable of taking care of ourselves or our families.
Mm-hmm.
It's Big Brother. I mean, that's what they talk about Big Brother, watching over you. It really is insanity. And it's part of the problem. There's a lot of people that buy into this. There's a lot of people that buy into the government will take care of me by making laws to make sure I don't do things that hurt myself.
Which
they need to ban cars because they kill more people than guns.
Yeah, and that and booze, right?
Steps. You're 8 times more likely to fall down the steps if you have steps in your house.
Is it really?
More likely than more likely than what? What's the other option?
If you don't have steps in your house.
All right. I mean, not everybody. All those things you mentioned. In fairness, I'm not in favor of any laws, but not everybody survived that stuff. I had a friend shot by a hunting accident, and I also my girlfriend's little brother got killed on a three-wheeler. That's just a quick flashback to when I was younger. Not everybody survived. Not everybody.
Well, I understand that, but not everybody survives eating peanuts today. I mean, it happens, and that's not to take away from what happened when you were younger, but I mean, there's people die every day doing just normal, everyday,
Everybody's
non-exciting things. So like I said, not taking away from what happened, to your friends, but yeah, most people survive that stuff.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, now you got the thing that's really scary now is the police have really thrown a scary part in this scenario with shooting the kid with the fake toy gun and stuff like that. That's really changed things a lot. I mean, now it's to the point where parents are even scared to have their kids have a fake toy gun. Who didn't have a toy gun when they were a kid? But now you're worried about, well, is that cop going to come up and shoot my kid now?
Well, you know what? Bringing that up, I said something 2 days ago. My kids, they came home from school, they ran upstairs, they grabbed some of these, guns. They're orange and white and yellow, and there's no way they can be mistaken for a gun. It's just they're toy guns. They were toys. They weren't airsoft. They weren't pellet guns. They weren't BB guns. They were toy guns. They went downstairs and they were running up the front door. I said, "Where you guys going?" They're like, "We're going next door to Carter's to play. We're going to play war or something." And I said, "Okay." And then I thought to myself, you know what? And I said, "Keep it in the backyard, because I don't need some neighbor calling and say there's kids with guns out here on the street and have a cop shoot my 10-year-old. It's just play in the backyard so no one can see you." And that's a damn shame that I had to even say that,
Yeah.
No,
We need more responsible freaking callers, man. When you call 911,
Yep.
I would never call 911 myself. I mean, that I can think of. But if you feel you got to, I mean, you better be damn sure what you're calling about. You can cost somebody their life.
you got to be exactly. I've said that. Will, I agree with you 100%. You have to be descriptive in what you're seeing, or be in what you're hearing. I'm the 80-year-old guy that lives behind wherever or beside me or whatever,
Yeah.
and you got XYZ neighbors just out there shooting a pellet gun. Okay, so
Yeah, that doesn't matter anymore. I mean,
well, my point is
that doesn't matter because if you listen to the 911 call in Cleveland, the guy said it's a juvenile, it's just a kid, and it's probably a toy gun.
Did he?
But they came out and shot him anyway.
Well, then
He actually said it twice.
I stand corrected. I'm sorry. I
He
thought
said it twice.
Now, how was that? We don't hear the part how it was relayed to the cop, do we?
Well, the dispatcher's the one that didn't tell the cop that it might be a toy gun and it was just a kid.
Then that's education, and that's training, and that's on him or her.
Yeah.
That's not on the caller. That's on him or her.
Well, it is on the caller, because if you already know that it's a juvenile, it's a fake gun, then why are you calling?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good
He did
point.
say it was a fake. He said it was. He knew it was fake.
It's a good point, Ohio.
He assumed it was fake.
He knew, or he assumed.
He assumed.
Okay, then. So it's not the caller's fault. It's the.
But he did tell the 911 operator that he thought it was a toy gun. But when the dispatcher called the cop, she just said, a person, maybe even said juvenile, I don't know, possible gun. Wait, I don't know how it was said, but she never said it might be a toy that she was told. You know what I'm saying? She was told it might be a toy. She just says, has a gun, he's waving it around, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
To sum it up, I don't remember exactly.
I understand.
Well, here's the thing: is that what the caller did not say, was that there's somebody threatening people. He did not say that somebody was firing shots. He did not say that somebody was acting violently. So, had the dispatcher at least relayed that it was a juvenile and believed to be a toy gun, along with those other things that aren't there, like I said, there was no shots fired, nobody was being threatened, and so on, you would think that the reaction from those two cops would have been a bit different. No, I'm not saying it would have been. Maybe they're just trigger happy, gung ho assholes, which is probably a good possibility, especially coming from Cleveland. But
Right.
had the information been passed properly, and had somebody in that situation use their head for just a second,
Mhm.
it probably would have turned out different.
Right.
Even our policeman that we have on the audience in the comments said he questioned the cop tactics on pulling up to the scene. Who in the hell gets that close to anyone who is thought to have a gun?
Exactly.
Yeah, the cops, they just screwed that all up. They about run over the boy,
Exactly.
jumped out of the car,
Yeah, they
shooting.
pulled up.
Um,
Yeah, they pulled up 2 feet from him, got out. Any. Oh my gosh, it drives me nuts because
you wouldn't have done that.
you would pull up 30, 40 yards, get out, assert your voice. Show me your hands, get on the ground, whatever.
Bullhorn, right?
And they put their own lives in risk to pull up that close anyway. I mean, if it was a real gun and if it was a real thug or whatever you want to say he is, you know what I'm saying? That cop being able to get out of the car and draw his gun proves that Tamar Rice wasn't a threat. Because if he was a threat, he would have already shot the cop before the cop got out of the car. Kind of like the Cleveland officer that killed the 2 people, last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah. And you know what? And it's not even just with the guns; it's with everything. It's suspicious activity. I love that. I love that quote. That some suspicious activity going on. Really, knock it off. Um, and it's everything being called that way, but especially the gun, especially anything with a gun or.
Well, it's like the same case with Tamara Rice would be like me calling 911 and saying, "Yeah, I'm looking out my window and there's a man with a dog and it's a pit bull." Well, has it bitten anybody? No. Does it appear aggressive? No. But I'm scared. And then the police show up and shoot the man's dog. That's the same. I mean, think about it that way. I hate to compare a human life to a dog life, but lives are lives, right? All lives matter,
Right.
right? But I mean, would a reasonable person, call 911 just because a man's walking a dog down the street? I mean, the dog hasn't bitten anybody. It's not barking. It's not aggressive to anybody.
Right.
Well, I would say the first half of your what did you just ask?
Me or Ohio?
Repeat what you asked, Ohio.
I'm trying to think, man. I mean,
You started with, would a reasonable person call 911, and then you went on to say about a dog. My response when you said, would a reasonable person call 911, my first response was no.
Just stop right there. Exactly. Well, you know what? No, I can't always say that well for called 911. I have, and it's been for medical issues, which I think 911 is a great tool for medical. Someone's house is on fire. Hey, we need a fire truck here. Call 911. Stuff like that. But going back to the reasonable people, is it reasonable to call 911 because you see someone sitting in their car on the side of the street, at 9 o'clock at night? Maybe they're on their cell phone. Maybe they stopped to eat a coney dog and they didn't want to get sauce all over them while they were driving down the road. There's no need to call a cop for every little thing you see.
Well, I'll tell you what. I did it. Actually, yeah, the other day my wife did it. What the hell day was it? I think it was Memorial Day. Yeah, it was Monday, Memorial Day. And 2 guys walking up down the street, knocking on doors, asking people for their electrical providers and asking them all their name and all their numbers and all that shit. First of all, who does that on a holiday? Nobody. Okay, so number one, the flags go up. So she didn't call 911. She just called the non-emergency number, obviously. And they said, "Oh yeah, we've already got complaints up the wazoo." And they checked them out. I didn't read or see where, anything about on it yet. But something like that, I can. But somebody just sitting in the car eating their lunch, who cares? You know what I'm saying? If you're coming up knocking on people's doors asking for their, especially the elderly, you know, and because you know how these people are ripping people off. You know what I'm saying? But I hear what you're saying. Somebody eating their lunch out in their car, or walking a dog down the street, or taking a walk with their wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever the hell it is. That's one thing. But
911 ought to be used for only three things: fire,
yep.
medical emergency, and police. And okay, two things. Because police ought to just be an investigatory organization.
Right.
There's no reason for them to be patrolling the streets. In the grand scheme, in the big picture of crimes across the United States, they stop almost none. And when they do stop them, it's because they stumbled across it. It's a drain on taxpayers, and they're a hazard to public safety. So they ought to be, and they're responders. I mean, you're the first responder, Mike.
Right.
Will, TR, Ohio, everybody. You guys are the first responders. Something happens to you, if your house gets broken into. I love the people that sit there and go, you bitch about cops now, but wait until your house gets broken into, or somebody wrecks into you, or you get attacked. It's like, they didn't stop me, so what good are they? Or they didn't stop the act, so what good are they? They come, they write out paperwork, and they do an investigation. That's what they ought to be. Because they only come after the fact anyway.
Or the next time you need a cop, call a crackhead instead. Well, is it that bad that we got to compare them to crackheads to even get a fair comparison?
I gotta go back.
Ohio, you being a wise guy again.
Well, at least a crackhead won't shoot my dog.
I hear you.
I think
steal everything from you.
A crackhead's never extorted money out of me. A crackhead's never pulled a gun on me. A crackhead's never pulled me over and unlawfully detained me. I mean, there's a number of reasons I would call a crackhead before I would call a cop. Chances are he's got bail money.
Cops never giving you a hand job in the back alley.
That's not
Hey,
entirely true. Bleak true.
Go ahead, Will.
I think I'm pretty sure the city I live in now and other cities I've lived in throughout Michigan, even if it's a non-emergency, you got to call 911 because that's the only person you're ever going to speak to.
You can't call. They don't have a non-emergent. They don't have a number where.
No, you go. What if I need to talk to you got to call through 911. I think it's just a
town thing.
Well, yeah, smaller cities and stuff do it that way.
Well, yeah, because I thought that there was some kind of. What was it up here? Somebody called 911 for something silly, and they got fined. Because it was literally silly.
Like McDonald's forgot to put their pickle on their burger or something?
It was like, it was something really stupid. What the hell was it?
They may do that. I'm sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say they may do that because 911 calls are recorded, and instead of equipping every little police force and whatever with recording devices and stuff, they may do it that way so that the conversation's recorded for evidence later on or something.
Yeah, well, they don't have to pay two people too. You know, it's a small enough city where one 911 operator can handle everything, emergency or non-emergency, right?
Right.
You don't want to be jabbering on the phone though when you got somebody who's having a heart attack on the other line, I suppose. But
I know it might be off topic, but it's kind of funny in a sense. Fuzz Fork wrote, "The government collects all this data on people, but today the government found out they have been paying Social Security checks to dead people. How can that be? It's not that they don't have that data." I mean, it's just perfect, isn't it? If you think about it.
I gotta wonder if it's the same dead people that voted.
It's just perfect. It's just funny. I don't even know what to say about that. It's typical if you think about it.
Well, if you've ever had any dealings with the government, especially when it comes to money, if you owe them money, they're of course at your door banging it down, wanting it now. If they owe you money, they are going to take their jolly sweet time of getting it to you. And we also know how government paperwork works. You know, we're talking, you know, basic things that you and I could do, you know, in a minute, takes them weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Now, I'm not saying this is the case, but it doesn't surprise me one bit that there's Social Security checks, dead people, because most people get Social Security are older, that the paperwork hasn't caught up to them. I'm not making excuses, and I'm not saying that's the fact, but in a sense, it doesn't surprise me that there's still Social Security checks getting written out to dead people, just because of how slow it takes the government to do paperwork.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally understand that. I know somebody very close to me that it wasn't Social Security. It was like a welfare benefit. And she got on her feet in the whole nine. And so she went down and told them, you know, notified them, no longer need yada, 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 yada. Here's your check. Nope, that's yours. Spend it. The following month was on the check, so she sent that back to. They sent it back to her. So I got. So yeah, with the Social Security, man, I could almost months and months and months. No doubt.
And that's just the first thing that popped in my head when you read that about the checks. That was my first thought. Then my second thought was, I wonder if it's the same dead people that voted for Barack Obama. But
I was alive when I voted for him twice, Matt. I'm going to give Matt a heart attack right here on YouTube tonight, ladies and gentlemen. There will not be Resist Attorney on Sunday night. Get me into a coughing spell. All right, real quick before we get back, I wanted to say hi to Oily and a special hello to Chelsea. Chelsea's a little girl that thinks that for whatever reason that Mike has a nice voice and he's a nice man and yada, yada, yada. Chelsea also happens to be approximately 3 years old. So, hi, Chelsea.
Very confused young lady.
Yeah, she is, but she's a good little girl. But
I'm assuming this is a relative of Oily because.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. First, I'm thinking I need to watch my mouth. Second, second, I'm wondering why a 3-year-old is on G+ at 11 o'clock at night watching Mike DeLucia.
Jay Watson, did I find what? I don't know, brother. I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, if you check Mike's analytics, that's his biggest fan base, 3 to 5 year olds.
Right.
Kids like clowns, you know.
They have They have trouble with their R's as well.
Delaware Patriot, I sent you a link. I don't know if you ever received it, but just to let you know. We don't have problems with our R's. It's just the rest of you people that talk funny. You know, you get your real southern people, which I don't, except for TR, I really don't have the South. Yeah, that's tomorrow night. I have to deal with all them Southerners. Right, yeah, them Southerners. But you in Ohio don't talk funny. You guys talk all right.
We talk right.
And Will being up there in Michigan.
Yeah. Hey, Basic America mentioned something there that because resist the tyranny?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had said there's only 2 reasons to call a cop. Now I can see more reasons, like a home invasion, like he said. Why wouldn't you call the cops in a home invasion? You can't always. I mean, people are different under pressure. I mean, it's like putting everybody in a combat situation and saying, "Well, you can defend yourself this way."
Well, it's good. It's good for you to call the cops during a home invasion because you're going to need somebody to take the report and the pictures and not contact your next of kin for you because you're not going to be able to do anything if you depend on the police.
Yeah, because it'll be over with before they get there.
Exactly. That's my point. Is you can call them.
Okay. You're saying it just would prevent it is all. You don't mind
Yeah,
that.
it's not.
Right.
You're the first responder. You're getting a home invasion. You get woke up in the middle of the night. Are you grabbing your gun or the phone? One's going to protect you. One isn't. The phone is not going to protect you, and whoever's on the other end of that line.
Now, I have heard a few calls where a girl has hidden somewhere in the house and has managed to get a call through and whispered, "Hey, I got people in my house," and they figure it out. They send the cops there, and problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that happened. Sure.
But this is the way I look at it. So when I tell people when people say, "Oh, Mike, why do you need a gun?" Yada 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 yada. But you're right, though. Well, those cases do happen. But in a home invasion, you guys already know, I live in a town, 28,000 whatever people. There's only 3 cops on detail, like right now. Okay, and I live in a pretty decent sized area of town. So let's just suppose it's 4 minutes before they get here, and that's a short time if they're on the other side of town. Let's just say it's 4 minutes. That's 4 minutes of a beating. Let's say there's two intruders. If you don't own a weapon, right? Let's just say you don't own a gun. Okay, yeah. That's like 4 minutes of a beating you're going to take, or what you have a chance of taking by intruders.
Yeah.
4 minutes is a long time to take a beating.
Yeah.
So now
if you're a felon, you're going to take that beating regardless because you ain't going to have a gun.
Not true. Well,
no. If you're a felon, you don't care, and you'll have whatever you want.
Right. You'll have a. But I'm just saying that if you own a gun, you just upped your chances 99.9%. Am I right on that, TR in Ohio and Matt, or am I wrong?
Well, in my opinion, if you own a firearm versus not owning a firearm, if you're in a situation where you need that firearm, you've increased your chances 100% of surviving that situation. Because there's only one there's only one thing in the equation that's different, and so when you add that thing, that increases. I mean, that's 100% chance, man. I mean, it's one of those things, and it sucks that people aren't allowed to own firearms. So there's people that aren't allowed to. It sucks that there's people that are scared of them, that are allowed to own firearms, and they don't have one in the house because they're either scared of them or think they don't need them. And it's a $500 investment for the rest of your life. They spend more than that on their life insurance throughout their life, on health care, on Excedrin, on hospital bills. They spend multiples of the. Well, no, I'm just talking about the other things they do for their health and life, and they spend multiples more than what a simple pistol or revolver costs.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have it. It's insane to me.
Yep.
Well, I think you could. I'd have to think about it to get my wording right.
Go ahead.
But where America has shifted and been led down the wrong road, liberty and freedom ain't free, and it's a responsibility to be free and to have liberties. And that responsibility is on yourself. When we keep giving that responsibility over to the government and give away our liberties and freedoms, this is what we're becoming, where you're relying on somebody else to take care of you instead of yourself. And it's a dangerous road, and we have gone way too far down it. Nobody says, well, if you're free and only, you're safe. I don't think any forefathers or anybody has said freedom is free, liberty is free, and you're safe. It becomes with responsibilities and risks.
Yep. I'm never gonna go against you on that again, TR. And I was gonna do your thing on that too, but and I'm smirking, but I was explaining that to somebody at work, and I got him to think the same way that I do now. That you don't give it up because they're gonna take it away, and of course once it's gone anyway. You're never gonna get it back. And one other thing that kills me is that people don't understand is that privileges are things that can be taken away. It's a privilege to operate a motor vehicle. Our rights can't be, and people don't get that. You know what I'm saying? They think that,
I would argue that with you that that operating a motor vehicle is a privilege.
Oh, it's a privilege. Every state that tells you that. Every time I lose it, they tell me that.
Well, yeah, I would argue that with you because once you purchase it, it's private property. Now they're regulating what you can and can't do with your property.
Good point.
I would argue that it's a privilege. Just because they say it's a privilege doesn't make it so.
Yeah, but there's got to be provisions on when you can get it and everything else. You're born with certain rights the minute you're born. Okay.
Why does there have to be provisions?
Well, because you got to be a certain age limit to drive a vehicle, right?
Why?
You can't be 5 and drive a vehicle, right?
Well, no, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree that you're probably not big enough, but mature enough to operate a motor vehicle when you're 5 years old. Right. I don't disagree with that, but why does it have to be 16? I mean, I was driving when I was 13.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be 16?
And dirt bikes, and some of us who live up where it snows drove snowmobiles, and I'm with you. But
again, this is the state telling parents that you're not responsible enough to make decisions for your child. And so we're going to do it for you. That your child may be very bright for their age and probably very capable of operating a motor vehicle safely. Probably more safely than 75% of the people out there.
Yeah.
However, the state says no, they can't do that. Why?
Excuse me. I don't know, to be honest.
There doesn't have to be provisions, but there are. These laws weren't around before cars.
Can I just interject you for 1 sec, if you don't mind? Gimp Geek says, I would argue that, but Matt, unless you get the certificate of origin when you purchase a vehicle, the state owns part of it with you. That's how you pay taxes on it and have to purchase plates on it. But there again lies that word purchase.
Well, but And I understand what you're saying, Gimp. Just like your house, you don't truly own your house because you still have to pay property taxes, yada yada yada. But that's all state and government involvement. This is more state and government involvement that doesn't need to be there. That's what I'm getting at. And you proved you actually helped make my argument there, is because you purchased something with the money you earned from work or whatever, and it's supposed to be your property at this point. But the government got their hands in it,
and says no.
and now you only own partially, and you got to pay taxes on it and fees and licensing and all that other stuff, which is some of those provisions that Mike was talking about. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. If you go through, I wrote an article about it a while back, and I only put about half of the fees we pay, and you don't even know it. It's insanity, and half of them are regulations to boot. This tax and fee is also a regulation, because if you don't pay the tax and fee, you don't get to drive the car that you bought with your money that you keep on your property, that the government will take away from you if you don't keep paying them for your property.
Right. It's like here, I was explaining. Oops. I'm sorry, I'm getting the cough is all of a sudden coughing my head off here. It's like here in Mass, I have to pay a excise tax for our vehicles once a year. That's horrible.
Well, I think there again, I'd have, I am from South Carolina. I am a redneck, so sometimes I have to think stuff out to make it sound intelligent. But I think what people have lost understanding of is our federal government was never meant to be our nanny. It was never meant to be our parents. And even if you say the word privilege, when you say that word and think about it, what do you think of? A privilege is what your parents let you do. If your parents will let you go over to little Bobby's and play when you're, a kid, that's not what our government is supposed to be. And the minute that we think that our government can give, grant, and take away privileges, I think we're on the wrong track of what it is and supposed to be. It is that now, but that's not what it's supposed to be. That's not what it is intended to be, and it's not what it should be.
Exactly. I was waiting for somebody to say that. That's why I kept saying why are they doing this? Why?
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. But again, it's the wording that, well, up here anyway, it's the wording that the state of Massachusetts uses that I'll be finding out really soon, because I'd have to go to an 8-hour class, and that's all that. It's the word they use all the time, and they bat you over the head with it. You're privileged to operate a motor vehicle. You're privileged. It's just a pain in the ass. That you got to sit there and listen to it. But
I mean, if you break it down like that, it's like everything you do is like you're saying, "Daddy, can I do this? Daddy, can I have that?" I mean, it's
right.
crazy. I mean, I understand rules and laws and regulations. If you commit murder, you should have to pay the price. Well, that's, you took somebody else's rights away. Yeah, you should be laws and things to do with that. But if it's you and what you're doing, as long as you're not hurting somebody.
However, they shouldn't, and I always say this, however, they shouldn't be telling me, if I live in the state of New York, that I can't have a Biggie Coke and a Biggie Fry and a Biggie friggin' Reese's Peanut Butter Cup that's freaking big. If I want to eat it, I want to eat it. If I'm not a diabetic and it's not going to kill me to eat that, let me eat it. If I'm a diabetic, it's going to kill me, well, let me eat it. It's my right to do what I want to do with what goes into my body. I mean, it's legal. You can buy it over the counter. You can't tell me what size. They shouldn't be able to regulate the size of junk food.
That's the nanny. That's what TR was
Right.
talking about. That's the nanny state.
It's getting, it's just nuts, really.
No victim, no crime.
Did you really just say that?
Well, he brings up
I'm
a
teasing.
point. I think I read something not too long ago where something like 3/4, and I could be wrong on that number, but it's right in that area. 3/4 of the people in prison right now are there for a victimless crime,
Yes.
unless you actually consider the state or municipality the victim, because that's what a lot of it is that when you say speeding ticket is a perfect example. You've victimized the city, state, or county, whoever it is that you're going in front of when you broke the speed limit. They're claiming to be the victim at that point, which I think is just ridiculous. But yeah, something like 75% of our prison population is there for victimless crimes. Literally, no one economically or physically got hurt in any of those crimes.
Yep. That site that you saw that bill in, Matt. There's also one in there about changing some of the laws of possession of controlled substances to where it's not, 20 years for having whatever, 5 ounces of weed or 10 ounces of weed in your car. Or if you're delivering it, if you're going to take it from point A to point B, you get the same sentence as, the guy that just got caught with freaking 5 kilos or something. You know what I'm saying? Or was selling it. You know what I'm saying? You're getting that same sentence. And so what they're doing, there's a thing on there now to try to lessen, cut back on the amount of years that you're going to get. I think they're probably going to cut it to him. I bet my guess is that they will probably cut it down to a misdemeanor that'll probably hold about 2 years. I really think that's what it's going to come down.
I think it was a year or two ago. Ohio changed to decriminalizing it to where basically possession is like a speeding ticket.
Mm-hmm. Massachusetts is an ounce or less is a ticket. It's not even a court appearance. $100 ticket. Anything over an ounce, you're gonna go to court.
Do they take it from you?
Yeah. As far as I shouldn't have said that. I don't
wonder
know.
where it. I wonder where it ends up.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably just because the prisons are already full.
And I think that's another reason. I think that's the main reason. I don't think they're doing it, especially in this state.
And it's like me and Johnny was talking the other night on his channel. Not really, we didn't get into that, but anyway, most of the big prisons are private, so they've made it a business, and you can't have an empty prison and make money, so they've made it a business. Therefore, they're going to keep those prisons full. Who's lining whose pocket to, you know what I'm saying? It's just like the police forfeiture thing, with seizing property and all. Well, if you made it a business, guess what? They're going to be open for business. The police stations are going to seize property because they can, and it's good for business. It's good. It's profit. When it became profit for the law to arrest people, that was a problem, and it is a big problem we have.
Buddy Light says that Maryland and Delaware are supposed to have made the small amounts of pot a fine now also. So obviously a lot of states are catching on to it, and it's going to go that way. Before we go any further, Mr. Tolley, how you been tonight, sir? Welcome.
Good. Had to have some dinner with my wife tonight.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Which is always Yeah.
You know what I say? A happy wife is a happy life.
Yes, sir. So far, it's pretty happy.
Right on. Right on. Good to see
Even
it.
though we couldn't buy the house next door, we're still kicking.
There you go. Well, it's good to have you, buddy. I haven't seen you in a while because
Thank you.
I wasn't on, and then you had something else to do, and so it's been like almost a week or so, week and a half or so since I seen you last.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
Yeah. Mackinstood says they make those private prisons that the Justice Department has invested interest in. It pretty much. And they got one up here in Manchester, New Hampshire, and it's god awful because it's private. I know a guy I work with was in it. You know, he had to call that home. He had to call that home for a little while. And he was the horror stories. He says, Mike, it's because it's privatized that there's more problems in it than if it were a quote unquote government owned jail. You know.
Well, you know there's a okay. So you end up, and this is something to think about. So obviously we know privatized prisons are a bad thing because of profiting off of people going in there. However, a government-owned prison, state-owned, whatever, federal-owned prison, also is the same way. I mean, you pay fines. You know, you do something, and you end up in a federal penitentiary that's owned by the federal government. You go to court, you pay fines, you know, and so on for whatever law you broke. So are they really all that different?
Well, I think that different in the way of generating the money. I don't. Are the penitentiaries receiving all that much money from the
No,
prisoners that are there?
I'm not saying the pen or the state pen or federal pen is receiving the money, but the owners of the state pen or federal pen, being the state government or federal government, is receiving the money, so they have just as much. They have just as much to gain from putting you in prison as a private prison, wouldn't you say?
I guess I'd have to say yes to that. I didn't look at it that way, to be honest with you.
I'm not advocating. I'm not
No, I know
advocating
what you're saying.
either way.
No, I know. It's just the horror stuff that this kid was telling me is just phenomenal, and so maybe I wasn't just thinking on the other side too much on it. You know what I'm saying?
Can you repeat that last question? I missed it.
From Matt?
Yeah, from Tyranny.
Matt, can you repeat what you just asked me?
Well, basically, it was that private prisons are in business for profit, and it could be the same thing could be said about state or federally owned prisons, because people who end up in those prisons are paying fines and so on before they go in. So the federal government and state governments are making money as well by imprisoning you, and then taxpayers pay for you to be there. So I would say they're really not all that different, private and government-owned prisons.
Well, look at the whole court system. I mean, even paying traffic tickets, see, that's all a business. You know, did they really punish you, or are they just there to make money? You know, does traffic tickets stop crime, or is it just to make money? Busting a pot dealer or whatever. They may not even put him in jail, just put him on probation, some community service, but he had to pay a fine, and he had to pay a court fee, and I mean, I'm not saying I guess you couldn't involve money, but the minute money's involved, it becomes a business.
Yeah, see, but I don't know. I just don't know if I like the word business when it comes to like paying like a stop sign violation or a red light or a speeding ticket. Um, I'm not trying to be funny or split a hair or play on words or anything like that. I just don't know if I like the word business when it comes to, because how are you supposed to, if you have to, if there has to be a consequence, because you said you agree that they have to have laws for this, that, and the other thing. Okay, so if you have to have laws for that, and there has to be consequences, and you don't want to fill up the jails, what other consequences are there going to be? Of course, they have to pay some kind of money. It doesn't make it a business. It's like it's a punishment for what you did
what
wrong.
about when they do? What about when they do make it a business and bring in privatized police?
Well, then that's the next. That's like a step beyond, though, isn't it, Ohio?
I can give you a real life prime example.
I'm sorry.
All right, in the town I live in, Travelers Rest, TR, we got a new Walmart a few years ago. All right, and so they needed to widen one of the little side roads that you would use one way to get in and out and all that to kind of make it, turning lane and this kind of stuff. And it must have just been, I don't know who done it, man. They kind of redid the road temporarily, and it's like they basically just shoveled out pavement and run over it with their pickup trucks. It was like you damn near needed to get in four-wheel drive to drive down this little bitty straightaway. It was just horrible. And for at least 2 months, the city police of Travelers Rest, you could not drive through Travelers Rest without seeing 2 cars pulled over at the same time, at any time of day or night. They just non-stop. And then, all of a sudden, that little section, just a few hundred feet, maybe 300 feet, got repaved, all nice. Boom. Never seen another blue light. They raised money through tickets to fund getting that road rebuilt. And as soon as they got the money, they stopped.
Which is not uncommon. That is not an uncommon practice. And off topic a little bit, TR, how long have you and I been talking?
Over a year at least.
Over a year? How is it that just now? I knew you lived in Travelers Rest. How is it that just now I found out that TR meant Travelers Rest?
Right. I actually thought they asked him for his first name, and I couldn't find out the T.
That's the nickname for the town, Travelers Rest. Everybody in the local area just calls it TR. And I just put it together. I say, hey, that's catchy. That works for a name.
So let me ask you this, because when you get, I know that when you get caught without your seatbelt on up here, or your motorcycle helmet, okay, or your snowmobile helmet for that matter, part of that, let's say it's a $50 fine. I don't know the fine, but let's just say it's 50. Okay, part of that fine goes to the head injury. It doesn't name for Massachusetts neurology, but it's for brain accidents, and part of that ticket goes to that. Is there? I don't look at that as a business. I looked at as, again, that's your penalty for you doing something wrong, and the state helping out a.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
You understand what I'm saying? They're not. I'm not being funny. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
just how I. I personally don't have a problem with that, to be
We
honest with you.
recently had a judge here in Ohio. There was a lady who took a cab 30 miles and then skipped out without paying. So, you know what the judge sentenced her to? To walk 30 miles. That's what he sentenced her to.
That's awesome.
He made her go out and walk 30 miles so she knows what it feels like to walk 30 miles. Because next time, she would either pay her cabbie or she'll, she's going to be walking.
That's awesome.
And wherever there's money, there's corruption. I don't care where it is. If money's involved, there's corruption. So,
certainly.
and if you got people, if you got all this money being funneled in for brain injuries, I mean, corruption there.
Well,
that becomes a self-sustaining business on its own, you know?
No.
You fell down, you shouldn't be getting a brain injury it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You should have to buckle your kids up. I agree with that because they aren't old enough to make that decision.
It's like back in the early 90s, all these schools got extra money from the government when they referred children that needed Ritalin and treatment for ADHD.
There you go. Exactly.
And now we got millions of kids on Ritalin that probably doesn't. All they need is to lay off the sugar and quit watching so much goddamn TV.
Yeah.
You said something.
But schools got extra money for that shit when they recommended certain students to doctors that went on that fucking drug.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, you said something earlier, Mike, that struck a nerve with me. That not because of what you said, but something that has struck a nerve with me throughout the country is you have a helmet law and a seatbelt law.
Yes, sir.
All the states have seatbelt laws. How are you going to enforce a seatbelt law if you, like Ohio, Arizona, many of the states don't have motorcycle helmet laws? How can you justifiably enforce a seatbelt law when you don't have a helmet law?
Right.
I got an even better one, Matt.
Hang on. This is how, Massachusetts has both seatbelt and helmet. New Hampshire has seatbelt for persons 16 and under have to have seatbelts. Okay. 16 and older don't have to wear them. They also 16 and older don't have to wear helmets. The only difference is, and Maine doesn't have a helmet law either. The only difference is that any commercial vehicle over 10,000 pounds, any commercial vehicle over 10,000 pounds, it's a $76.50 ticket up here for not wearing your seatbelt, whether you're in the state of New Hampshire or Maine or not. Because you're driving a commercial vehicle over 10,000 pounds, you are subject to get a ticket, and I know it's that amount of money because I've been caught twice already. So
I was going to say that sounds like experience.
But to answer your question, Matt, I have no idea how they get away with doing that. I think it's wrong. I think it's your choice whether you want to wear a helmet or not. I really don't believe you should be forced to, and I really don't understand how you can have no helmet law with a seatbelt and vice versa. How you can have, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know how they do it.
In South Carolina, you don't have to wear a helmet if you're over 25. I think it's 25, but they don't enforce that. But you do have to have a seatbelt as an adult in a car or truck.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also ride in the back of a pickup truck if you're older than 16.
Mm-hmm.
So you can ride in the back of the truck with no seatbelt, no nothing. But if you're in the front seat, you got to have a seatbelt on, and we'll give you a ticket.
Well, and let's not forget, everybody's kids that go to school don't have to wear a seatbelt either.
Right, or a city bus. You go to Arizona, you go to Tempe, or you go to wherever, wherever has a city bus. You get on a city bus, you see a seatbelt. Go on a train. Trains do 80, 100 miles an hour. You see a seatbelt?
Just the hypocrisy that you allow motorcycles on the street. But yet, if you're inside of a cage, you got to wear a seatbelt. On a motorcycle, you're just, hey, well, this is,
Well,
not that I want seatbelts on motorcycles. I'm just saying there's a lot of hypocrisy there, I mean, I wear my seatbelt before there was a seatbelt law. That's just me personal. I prefer to have a seatbelt on, but I don't think it should be law.
And Gimpke says I had a helmet on when I had my accident and it cracked in half, so without a doubt I would be dead if I didn't have one on. And I've heard I didn't have one on when I got in my wreck and flipped over the car 5 times and so on. It was a pretty bad wreck. But the doctor actually told me, he said that was one of the scenarios that had I had a helmet on, I probably would have been in worse shape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's one of those rare occurrences.
Yeah, I would say that's an exception.
I mean, it's certainly not the norm.
Till
I
you're
was in a car accident, and I got a T-boned, and it threw me over to the other side of the car. Had I had my seatbelt on, I'd have been dead. So it was one of those occurrences where, it was kind of a fluke the way it happened. It would have killed me if I'd had a seatbelt on.
Yeah. It's still your choice, but yeah, that would be exceptions to the rules, of the law.
Well, but the way it all started, again, I think it shows how they pick and choose what laws they do and don't have and so on. Again, how do you have a seatbelt law in the state, but you don't have a helmet law?
Right.
And how do you pull somebody over for a seatbelt when right behind them was a guy on a bike without a helmet? It's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota does it all the time.
Do they?
We have a seatbelt law and no helmet law. Unless
Well,
you're under
I don't
18.
No. Is yours? I'm sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like I said, I don't know how it is in y'all state, but in South Carolina, you can ride in the back of the pickup truck. You could literally get pulled over in a pickup truck. They give the driver a ticket for not having the seatbelt on, and there's 5 guys in the back of the truck riding to a job site or something. They're good. You can be in the back of the truck with no seatbelt or seat or anything else. Just don't be in the front seat. Is that not ridiculous?
It is.
You can't do that here in Mass.
Yeah, you can here in Minnesota.
We used to though. Mr. Tolley.
Probably not allowed to own a pickup truck in Massachusetts.
Mr. Tolley, out in Minnesota, you said there was no helmet law. Is it age restricted?
No. Yeah, if you're under 18, you have to wear a helmet.
Okay.
And on your learner's permit, you have to wear a helmet.
Right. But I'm going to be honest with you. I keep one of the neighbors, I don't even know where they live, but they live right near my house. I see her all the time. She has this beautiful green, it's a Harley, but it's green. I don't know if the color's there or not, but anyway, beautiful, brand new trike. And, it's beautiful. And she's showing me, and we're talking about it. And I told her the same thing I'm going to tell you guys. I would not ride a bike now with the advent of texting and everything else, playing Candy Crush and the cell phone usage and iPods and iPads, what the hell they are. With all that usage, I wouldn't drive a frickin' motorcycle for the tea in frickin' China. I just wouldn't do it.
My wife and I were just talking about that
I wouldn't do
while
it.
we were eating dinner. Because I used to ride everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I'd ride all the way up until December, which is saying a lot in Minnesota.
Well, yeah, it is.
But
Yeah.
I used to ride it everywhere. But yeah, I don't know that I sold my bike a number of years ago, but I don't know that I want to get another one.
No. Scary, 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 scary.
Yeah, it is. Very.
You have to be very aware. I don't drive scared, but I am very aware of my environment. And every
Yeah.
time I see a car going to a stop sign or even a red light or whatever, I just briefly in my mind, what's my escape route if they do this? You know, just
Yep.
just a little passing thought. And because a lot of times I've had to use that. Like if that car pulls out, I'm just going, okay, there's no oncoming traffic. I'm just going to jump into the oncoming traffic lane and go around them. And I've done that several times. Yeah, because cars pull out in front of you.
Yep.
They pull out in front of transfer trucks. They definitely going to pull out in front of a bike.
Had that happen to me one time, and they pulled out in front of me, and I smacked them square in the rear end. Fortunately, it was in a parking lot, so they weren't, we weren't moving too fast. But
Right.
Yeah, that's how I got into my wreck. Was a guy pulled out in front of me, I smacked him
Yeah.
doing 60 mile an hour on my bike.
yeah, people
But then
don't pay
again,
attention.
oh no, most certainly they don't. But then again, I've not always been accused of being the safest rider either. So
Well,
As long as that front wheel stays on the ground, you're all right.
my front wheel stays on the ground, but like there's like guys that I've ridden with for years that will be trucking down the road, 60, 70, 80 mile an hour. He needs to get something out of his saddlebag, so I reach over and I grab his throttle and handlebar, and I'm controlling both. I'm controlling both bikes while he's leaned back getting into his saddlebag. We've done that a few times.
Yeah, that's probably not a good idea.
Right. I had a Boston cop. We're in a tunnel in Boston, and traffic's rolling probably 15, 20 miles an hour. What's he doing? Right down the divided lines. It's a three-way. The tunnel's got 4 lanes of traffic in it, and then it goes down to 3. By the time you come on, it goes down to 3 lanes. And he comes up in between me. I'm in the box truck. He come up between me and like a big. Actually, it was a big SUV. It's probably like a Yukon, a big, Yukon or what have you. And I shook my head at him. So we get up a little further, and he had stopped, and I put my window down. He says, shaking your head at me? I go, yeah, because you're being stupid. I go, you're riding in between vehicles. That's stupid. You don't have a siren on. You don't have a light on. You don't have nothing. Nothing.
See, and that's legal. That's legal in California. You can ride between the lanes of traffic. You can ride up the shoulders.
If I do this, just
Hey,
once.
tell me about it.
Just
You got
once.
to tell me, man.
I'm not going to kill him. He's in leathers. He's on a, you know what I mean? But we're only doing 20, 25, whatever. But it's still going to freaking hurt.
Yeah. It hurts to fall down, especially when you're 50 years old,
Exactly. And, and I'm like, officer, Jesus, at least if you had your light on or something, or just, flash your high beams at us or something. Put your flashes on. Just put your regular hazard flashes on. Do something. But I almost took him out. And I wouldn't want that. I don't want to ever be responsible for. Believe me, I drove.
Taking somebody else's life like that?
Yeah. I drove on a motorcycle without even having a permit or a license. Not the smartest thing to do in the world, but.
Why, Mike?
Yeah.
Is riding a motorcycle without a permit or license not smart?
Just for the lawsuit value.
Oh, I thought you were. I thought you were going.
Nothing happened to me. I got in an accident, but I didn't hit anybody. My buddy and I were coming on. He was on his 900 Ninja, 900 or whatever, and I was on a little Honda Nighthawk 550, and we were on an off ramp coming off a highway, and we were both laying down pretty good because we were doing about, I don't know, we were probably doing about 60 anyways. And he was more experienced than me, and he came up, and when he came up, he scared the shit out of me. So I overcompensated and wound up sliding across a bunch of grass. I didn't even break a bone, didn't get a stitch, nothing. I just slid forever in a week on the grass. But
I thought you were just going the safety route when you said not smart. That's what I thought you were talking about.
Just for like if I had hit somebody, you know what I mean? That's just a lawsuit waiting to happen because I got nothing. You know what I mean? No license, no permit, no nothing. No, not just. Well, I did it for years though. You know, hell, for that matter, I drove my car without one for years too. Because back in the day, they stopped it now. But back in the day, you didn't need a driver's license to register a vehicle in the state of Massachusetts. Okay, so I'd register my vehicle. My license was suspended. I'd go to the frickin' registry, give them my frickin' ID, register a vehicle, and drive out of there. And I'd be on suspension.
Yeah, they changed that several years ago here too, where you had to have, they say proof of insurance, but when you cancel your insurance, they like contact the DMV to let them know, and they'll cancel your tag and all that stuff.
That shit happened to me. I switched from Progressive Insurance to State Farm. I had a State Farm policy started before I even canceled my Progressive. And the day I canceled it, boom, they sent a message to the DMV, and I got a letter saying my license was suspended for not having insurance. But then I had to have State Farm fax the policy that it was created on that same day to the DMV, and it took them like 3 weeks to reinstate my license.
Yeah, I went from Progressive to Geico. But you know what I used to like? I used to like when they would, years ago before they did the interstate thing there, where I can lose my New Hampshire license, I can lose my right to operate a vehicle in the state of New Hampshire, but not in the other 49 states. You know, back in those days, I used to love those days.
Yeah, it was, I think, 2006. No, 2001 and 2002. I was not allowed to own a vehicle in the state of Ohio, nor own any firearms. Just temporarily.
Just temporarily, for just a wee little while.
Just for a little while. Only a year.
No, that's not bad.
Well, isn't it still on law where TR lives that if you approach the intersection in a non-horse and buggy, you have to fire 3 shots in the air before proceeding to the intersection?
That is actually true. That is on the book still.
Well, yeah, because if you don't fire the shot in the air, you might hit the gas lantern on the horse and the buggy.
Well, you might scare the horse, is what it is. If you're in a horseless carriage, or when it was first caught on it's still in the law. You got to stop 100 feet before the intersection, fire a gun in the air to warn anybody that might be on a horse. So legally, I'm supposed to do that every time I go up to the intersection right now.
You should put that to the test, man. You really should. That'd be a great video.
No,
yeah, I need to come up with a GoFundMe fund for my lawyer and shit when after it happens. But
just I don't mean to get off subject real quick. You guys look in the internal, if you will. Now, do you guys have to? Can you guys ride horses anywhere you want?
Yeah, pretty much. I think other than the interstate.
No freeways. You can't take a horse on a freeway.
You can do it on a freeway up here either, but can you go? You can go on a state highway though. That's different, right?
Well, even here, some of the highways will be posted as limited access, and 45-mile-an-hour limit. But now at the same time, that don't mean you couldn't ride a horse, on the grass beside the road.
Right. A friend of mine was telling me that they were down in Rhode Island, and they were on some little tiny country bumpkin road. It was a girl on a horse.
On a what?
The sheriff of the county was coming the other way, and the road was so small that he couldn't go by them. Okay, so he put his window down and he figured he'd listen in. She was being yelled at for riding a horse on a country bumpkin road. Country bumpkin road. She was being yelled at for riding a horse.
Now, what about the Amish? They can do whatever they want, right?
I think they can. I think they can take their buggy, obviously, other than the interstate. But I think they can, right? Am I right on that? I think they can. I think they're, like, for lack of better terminology, grandfathered in.
I don't have any here. Pennsylvania is a big Amish type area.
I used to live in a heavy Amish area, and yeah, they're allowed to take them buggies wherever, except for on a freeway.
So, we're gonna before we. I unfortunately have to cancel this out at some point, right? But I didn't see that politically incorrect on Hawaii. Thanks for coming, weapons machinist Stan Ouch. How are you, sir? Thanks for coming. Lee Ralph made it tonight. Thank you, sir. Galen Long. Driver of all. Utah Redneck Nichols. Thank you, sir. And that's about it. Actually, we might have to leave earlier than I anticipated, considering my battery is now dying on my laptop. We actually went longer than we were supposed to, because not only do I have to go, but I know Ohio does too. So you know what we're going to do? Does anybody want to give a... Matt, I don't want to screw it up. 8, is it Eastern or West? Eastern, 8 Eastern, Sunday night, or is it with that 8 Western?
8 p.m. I don't know
how to do the...
I don't live in the central time zone, but that's what I always do it at, because everybody can do their own math from there. So it's 8 p.m. Central Time tomorrow night. Just the Tyranny Live.
Okay.
Are you doing one on Saturday?
You guys?
No, I'm sorry, not tomorrow. Sunday.
Sunday.
Thank you, Ohio. Yeah, I was not thinking of what day today was. Yeah, Sunday night.
ASIM's tomorrow night at...
Like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Anybody know?
7:30, 8 o'clock, usually what Eastern time. Banner's on some type of weird Canadian time, like
when Luke's chat is at. But anyway. But anyways.
They got metric clocks up there, so who knows?
It's just like you try to figure it out, right? Frank had to leave, but thanks, Frank, for coming in. Will, dude. Appreciate it. TR, Mr. Tolley, always a pleasure. And of course, Matt, thanks a million for coming in. And Mr. Ohio Wolverine, sir, I'm glad you were able to come with us tonight. I know you changed things around, so.
Schedule change, but I'm still be able to hit a few of them.
Down the road.